Dreams by Fleetwood Mac on the bass. Our picking, plucking, strumming pattern, depends if you're playing with your fingers or not, is going to be so make sure if you're playing with your fingers, you're probably going to end up resting your thumb on a pickup, or if you have a pick guard, maybe on your pick guard. Some basses even have a thumb rest. So find your little anchor point for your thumb, and you're going to start with lead with your first finger, and you can either strum it again with that finger and then go to the next finger, or you can alternate. It doesn't really matter. Just make sure that you're not playing the whole thing with one finger, okay? So notice how after I play each note that I rest my finger back on the string to silence it, so it's not just ringing out, right? And the whole song is pretty much the same groove. All right, the guitar's playing an F and a G, and so are you. So here's your F, and here's your G. All right. So the first fret of the E string and the third fret of the E string. Oh. Then switch, and G, F, and G. Right? And that's it. Alright, you can do that the whole time. If you want to add a little bit of flair, make it a little bit fancier, you can add in some fills. Alright? And a fill is just all extra notes you do in between the groove. Right? Your F and your G, those are your root notes. So we're going to add a fifth and an octave to give it a little bit of flair, okay? And there's a little page in your books about what a root, a fifth, and an octave is. They're just fancy words for notes that sound harmonious together. That you can use these in pretty much every song ever. And all of the songs that we play in Lady Rock Stars, for the most part, they're all written in this pattern, root, fifth, octave. Okay, so here's one. We're going to go to the 5th fret of the D string, which is also a G. It's just an octave of the G, and that means it's just a full 8 steps higher than the lower G. So these two are the same notes. So go up to your octave on the G, and then just slide down. When I do a slide, I strum it once here, and I hit it, and then I still hold this string down, and I slide down it kind of quickly. Strum, slide. And you can do it with 2 fingers, you can do it with 1 finger, you can do it with all, like, however is comfortable for you. Don't practice it too much, because you'll tear your fingers up doing it until you get your calluses nice and strong. So this is what happens when I do it too slow. You hear it when I hit the metal part of the fret. It doesn't sound right. You got to do it fast enough so it sounds almost like one thing. And you also have to do it fast enough to get to your next note. Oh, here's what it sounds when I put the fill in with the jam. Now don't do the fill every time. Just add it in just to break up the monotony of the song. Now another fill that you could do is that one. I'm going. Then I go up to the octave, right? The one we just slid down on, the 5th fret of the D string. And then I slide down. And then I hit it, and then I slide down it kind of quickly. So here's one. We're going. Then I go up to the octave, right? The one we just slid down on, the 5th fret of the D string. And then I hit it, and then I slide down it kind of quickly. So here's one. Then my next note is going to be the 3rd fret on the D string. Then the 5th fret on the A string. Then back to your original 1, the F. Right? There you go. So those are your little added extras. Like I said, for the most time, you're just going to be playing. But periodically, throw in a fill if you're comfortable and you know that you practiced it enough that you will for sure come back in on the 1, because that's our role as a bass player. We have to play the root notes to support. If you get too fancy and you play all this melodic stuff, you're not really doing the job that, you know, everybody else in the band really wants you to. A bass player has to hold down the groove. Now, once you establish your groove and you want to add to the groove, and just here, bottom line, never forsake the groove to get fancy. You don't ever want to over embellish anything, because at that point you're not really being a bass player, you're being a lead guitar player. And bass, just know your space with your bass and get your main foundation part down before you start adding on all the fancy stuff, because the root notes and the groove, this is the same thing. They're what's important. Alright? I see you in the next video.